Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, the black and gold standard for Pittsburgh Steelers coverage. Now, here's your host, Joe Kuzma.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Steel City Underground podcast. I am flying solo today. This is like Maverick with no goose. My name is Joe Kuzma. I'd like to say Brian Roach is on assignment, but I kind of wanted to take the bull by the horns and answer some of the very positive email reaction and some folks that started asking about attending games or getting to about that point here, end of June, beginning of July, where season ticket holders are going to finally get some tickets in their hands. And if that's by how means you get your tickets, great. But I was entertaining some questions, everything from, let's say, getting tickets, where to sit, what to see in the city, tailgating, what to do. And some of that stuff is going to be really subjective because, I mean, there's things I like to do that other people wouldn't like to do and sightsee and stuff like that. And I'll get into that in a second. But first of all, I wanted to personally thank everyone who has been leaving feedback, reviews on iTunes, various other podcast platforms, wherever you may listen to it. Still personally trying to make some decisions here on what to do with a few of the other services, such as maybe like a Spreaker, SoundCloud, maybe not the highest performing things. So if you go over to steelcityunderground.com, we have a website form you could fill out. It's on the contact link at the top. Whether you're on a mobile phone or you're doing this from a desktop computer, you will find it somewhere on the header or the little drop-down menus there. And shoot me a message and let me know, because I don't want to leave anyone in the dark here with some of these other services, but it's kind of getting a little hard to, wrap my arms around the whole thing. YouTube, you're safe. You guys have been golden. The subscriptions have been going through the roof. We appreciate it. For most of the people who don't know, YouTube, Google, Alphabet, whatever the heck you call it these days, they changed their rules when it came to like advertising revenue and what they call monetization, which means people like myself or Brian or anybody else here at Steel City Underground that got a small pittance. Now, trust me, it's not like we're making a fortune publishing the podcast on YouTube, but now even like the 30 cents you might get here or there has become zero because their guidelines now say that you need 1,000 subscribers minimum. So I would ask this, even if you just kind of vaguely use YouTube or happen to have an account lying around, head on over, find Steel City Underground on YouTube. The link is also on steelcityunderground.com. It's up at the top or at the very bottom. You can find it on any and every page of our site. And click on there and click on the subscribe button. I believe it's also on our homepage. There's a big subscribe button somewhere in the middle as well. And that'll help. And not only, trust me, I'm not even looking out for myself here, but just, all of the people who help contribute here. It's nice to get a little bit of a reward sometimes, and maybe even able to just go out and get an ice cream cone for the efforts and the hard work that they put in. So we definitely appreciate that. As far as like listens or views, since it's technically a video on YouTube, it's also, that has been through the roof. We have like more than double, maybe almost double and a half what the yearly requirement is of the other half of that monetization. But we were slow to the game here, and originally we didn't put all the podcasts on YouTube, and some of the video stuff was mainly like, shooting some video from the game. Some of the Renegade videos are up there. If you haven't seen them, most of them I took myself, and I try to get a still shot, some Steelers, the introductions that you don't get to see on TV at game day. And you know what? That comes full circle because, I like to ramble and get off topic. And I don't think most people realize when myself and Brian do this, if we even have a bullet list or a checklist, most of the time, a lot of this is just we're shooting from the hip. It's just we enjoy talking football so much and talking with all of yins, and it's a lot of fun sharing our experiences. I know that how much Steelers stuff we own probably isn't the biggest thing. And oh, geez, yeah, I bought that that cooler the other day. I found a cooler. I think I mentioned this already, but it's more of a food cooler than a beverage cooler, but still the same. It's a legitimate Steelers one. Rawlings made it. I was quite surprised, but I'm a sucker for anything Steelers. But let's talk about those game day experiences for those of you folks who sent the emails. Oh, yeah. Don't forget to email, by the way. If you don't go through the website to contact us, the email to catch any of us here is fanmail@steelcityunderground.com or info@steelcityunderground.com. Reaches myself directly. The other one forwards to several of us, and you can get an answer from any or all of us, which some of you have, especially with the hashtag helmet worthy. Those have been coming in. Keep them coming. We love it. We've been all looking at them as a group here, the 10 or 11 or however many of us that are part of this team, and we love it. But game day, I get asked all sorts of different things. I'm coming in from out of town. What should I see? What should I do? Where should I stay? Where should I get tickets? Where to tailgate? There's so many different things you could do in the city of Pittsburgh. If you're not aware, I actually live about an hour from Pittsburgh myself, so I commute in on game days. And one of the things that I could tell you, if you're bringing your family or anything like that, depending on how old the kids are and things like that, and also the time of the year, because you're not going to go to the Pittsburgh Zoo in December, but just go on TripAdvisor. They have stuff like that. The kids' museums on there. They'll tell you Point Park or any of the various parks that are around, or go to the universities. Look beautiful. The Duquesne Inclines of Mount Washington. There's so many beautiful things to see. There's a lot of great places to eat. And everybody's going to be different. I often joke about this, but I say, if you put 10 people in a room and you try to get them to agree on what toppings you're going to put on the pizza, you're never going to get them to agree, and inevitably there's going to be at least one person that wants salad and not pizza at all. So I'm not going to force you to – I'm not going to tell you that you have to go to Permanis. You should. But there's some great places, the Strip District and things like that, North Shore. You'll get around. You'll do just fine. Now, craft beer, I won't waste an hour of telling you all the delicious craft beer places there are in town, but they just keep popping up they multiply in number. I came in, there's at least there was a dozen or 15 of them within maybe 20 minutes of downtown Pittsburgh now. Is just insane. But if you want some of that information, just you could email me for that, or Joe came and say my own Twitter handle, Joe_Kuzma on Twitter is my personal one. I try to check my DMs every now and then, but I get so caught up and busy. So aside from the what do you do on a Saturday, well, let's jump over the tickets and tailgating stuff, and let's just say you're prepared for game day. The one thing you don't want to do is try to enter Heinz Field an hour before kickoff, because the lines are absolutely crazy. And if you're a lady that has a purse, or a gentleman that has a bag because you're putting ponchos or stuff in it, one of the things I'm going to tell you about that is number one, they have the all clear bag policy. So you have to basically use their sort of kind of bags. I think they have some throwaway ones sometimes provided up front, but don't quote me on that. And trust me, when there's 60 to 65,000 people trying to walk in to or going into this stadium, you can't guarantee that they have that type of stuff. So be prepared and pick something up like that. What I like to do is you don't want a bag whatsoever. Get yourself a money clip, a thin wallet if you don't want to carry your big thick wallet around. Maybe you're traveling, you can't leave it in the car. I understand that. So maybe you do have to take that with you. But same thing with keys. I have one of those. I don't even know if you say this right. It's the clip carabiner. I don't know how you say the thing. It's you know what it is. It's the thing that you clip on your belt. Well, I take my car keys off and leave my house keys completely in the car. What is somebody going to do with my house key if they steal it? I mean, like I said, I'm an hour away. Good luck finding where I live and breaking in with my own key. If you break into my car, there's probably more valuable things in there than that, especially when I get to the tailgating section of this. But You got to take your keys out. You got to take your cell phone out. I always advise the extra cell phone pack. I think I was talking about this with Brian a week ago as well. You're going to need that just in case your phone dies. But you want to go through the express. There's a few express areas that you could go through where it is much faster because they're not patting you down and looking through bags or purses, diaper bags, anything of that nature. Now, if you absolutely must have that stuff, come in a little early. Now, for folks that have already been to Heinz Field, going in early, I don't know. There's not much of a benefit unless you need to use the restroom. You want to beat the lines. You don't want to miss kickoff. You might want to see some warm-ups. You get a little bit closer to the field, and you could see some of the players warming up that are there. The big deal for anyone who hasn't been there is that you get inside, you go walk about the Great Hall. You got some of the replicas of the Super Bowl trophies and the various many pictures, the Walk of Fame that has all sorts of memorabilia of past Steelers. And then there's the new Hall of Honor that's on the far end of that too. And you walk through all that and you want to get some pictures in that. You want to get in when they open, and don't misquote me because I don't know if it's like 2 hours or however before kickoff. Like maybe it's like 11 a.m. for a 1 o'clock game on a Sunday afternoon. Most people aren't in there that early. And you want to beat the crowds because when all the yahoos get in there, all the yinzers, and they've had a few of their, alcoholic beverages, the adult beverages I was speaking of, it's human nature. People end up being a little inconsiderate even if they don't mean to, and somebody's inevitably going to photobomb you trying to get a picture of the Rod Woodson jersey or the Jerome Bettis jersey that's hanging up there. Mean Joe, everybody's there. I mean, it's great. It's a great thing to look at. Now, if you've already seen it, and then there isn't much to see beyond that. The stadium, if you haven't been there the last few years, they closed into one end. There's another scoreboard that they put up. They make incremental improvements to it, but it is a stadium. So you're not there to see the stadium per se. Now, I know everybody's going to want to eat or drink either before or at the game. It's really tough to just walk around with food, take it to your seat, eat, especially if it's going to be kickoff, up and down. People are trying to get into their seats. If you're in the middle, you're crawling over other people. If you're on the aisle, people are crawling over you. It's just one of those things that you got to be prepared for. And trust me, there's fabulous food in the stadium. And aside from, grabbing like a can of beer that's almost like $9, and that sounds expensive, but if you go to concerts or if you go to an NHL game and go visit the Penguins, I think it's like 12 or almost 13 for like the same thing. It's even worse. That's your prerogative. It's what you want to spend your money on. If you go and tailgate beforehand, you could certainly bring your own stuff, or there's plenty of bars that are around, but they will be packed. And there are some goofy alcohol, liquor type laws where I don't even think they start selling until around 11 on a Sunday in Pittsburgh. Somebody could correct me if I'm wrong. But I remember showing up early and then just saying, well, you know what? I'm just going to go to the casino. That's, the casino's like you could spit on it from the stadium, basically. It's like a 5-minute walk, if that. So for you gamblers, hey, there you go. You can even park there too. They may even validate. I don't know if they validate on game days though, but it does cost to park in that garage, so you're not going to be able to cheapskate your way out in most cases. But I'm not a gambler, so I have very limited knowledge on that, and so just take that as the disclaimer. You'll have to do your own homework. But I went to show up there because, you know what, it's a lot cheaper to drink at the casino than it is to drink inside Heinz Field. And it's like you show up and it's like 10 o'clock or something, and it's like, well, we're not serving anything yet. And it's like, yeah, because you know what? Most football games are played on a Sunday, and there are Sunday laws that are a lot different than everything else. So in that regard, food-wise, I mean, there's a lot of good wing stuff. Quaker Steak and Lube is expensive anyway. If there's Permanis, there's like a few other spots that make like burgers and hoagies and I don't know, like sausage sandwiches. There's all kinds of stuff that's there. Very high quality, actually, because you know what? The same company actually operates all that stuff that operates at PPG, and I have friends that are on the inner workings of that, so to speak, and with the chefs and everybody that's involved. It's crazy the amount of work that goes into that. So if you go there, it's actually not too expensive to eat if you compare it to like Applebee's or something like that. Now, I haven't been to Applebee's in forever because you know why? It's expensive and not very good. But any of those places, as you know, as far as a chain restaurant, if you're looking at like $9 or $10 for a burger at like a Chili's or Perkins or Denny's or whatever, it's the same thing in the stadium, so don't fret over it. Now, if you're like me, I like to grill my stuff and go tailgate. So, I'll get to the tailgating in a second. You're probably wondering, though, all this information about going into Heinz Field and getting in Heinz Field, and I'll probably skip some stuff, and you guys will let me know, and I'll cover it in a future episode. But tickets, I got to gloss over real quickly because don't get took on tickets, okay? I know everybody likes to make sure they have a ticket in hand when they show up. There are people who are actually licensed. I hate calling them scalpers. It sounds like such a dirty word. It's like saying like blogger for anybody who does any of the writing on our website. Where they're not bloggers. I have like creative people and actual writers and contributors. They're not just bloggers. You know what I mean? It just makes it downplay what they are. But that's what a lot of people will see them as, and you might be intimidated by that. But you know what? Sometimes these guys are desperate to get rid of tickets. Other times it's a hot item ticket. The New England Patriots game. Don't even try and get in there for some great steal. But you know what? These guys, they're going to make a buck. They're going to hustle, but it might not be that bad when you look at like NFL Ticket Exchange or StubHub or something like that. Now, those sites are guaranteeing their tickets, and I do believe one or the other is absorbing or taking over. I'm not sure if that's this year or the following year. But if you buy stuff online, you're not going to be able to just go and get a ticket through Ticketmaster. Very rarely, unless you're going by yourself, a single ticket. So don't even look. Those already went on sale and they're gone, and they were all the bleacher seats in the very high upper 500 levels. As I was talking with a gentleman via email, we were talking about all this too, and season tickets and things of that nature. You're going to find that some season ticket holders, if you're hanging around tailgating or perusing like even Craigslist or something, somebody might be stuck with a ticket, or they're selling it because they can't make a game. Maybe somebody has 4 seats, they only use 2, things of that nature. Obviously, if you have an even number of people, the easier it's going to be. You might be able to get a single ticket. I've gone by myself. Hell, I'll go. Give me a ticket. I go. That's the way I am. I like going with friends and family if I can, but you know what? As a pair, it's usually easiest. If you try and go and get like 3 tickets together, very difficult to find 3, very difficult to find 5 together, and usually it skews your options and availability of pricing. I mentioned the Craigslist thing. I've met lots of people through Craigslist, some better than others. Like anything that you're doing with Craigslist, you got to watch out for scammers. If anybody tells you they're from out of the country or they want you to PayPal or wire money to you, don't do it, okay? Just common sense. You got to meet people face to face, and make sure they're not handing you off a printed off ticket that you print off, on the work compute thing or the thing in your home office with the inkjet or whatever. Don't do that. You want the ones that the Steelers ship. Lot harder to counterfeit, of course, and you still got to be careful with anything but I've never had any problems with any of that through all the years that I've had to do it here or there. And it depends if you're out of the area too, because if you're not close to Pittsburgh and you can't meet somebody face to face, that's going to severely limit some of your options where you may have to pay a little bit more. But I heard of somebody paid what was it? Was it the Patriots game, the Packers game? There were so many big games last year. It may have even been the Cowboys game the year before, and they paid like almost $900 for a lower level seat. Don't do that. Those lower level tickets, they're like $100 to maybe $150. They fluctuate because the Steelers have some goofy pricing scheme. All the games, they used to cost the same price. They no longer do. The 8 regular season games, that is. So they have like 2 that are like a black tier, 2 that are like a gold tier, and 2 that are this and 2 that are that. And they shave $5 or $10 off of one, and they sock it on to the other. So one ticket costs more if it's a more premier game. That's probably going to be the Patriots one, by the way, I would imagine. Or like the Ravens, because it's like a rivalry thing. But if they're playing like one of these teams that are an out of conference, an NFC team or something like that, maybe that's the lower face ticket. Where you might get lucky online are your night games, because people got to go to work next day. They're not interested in the holiday games, things of that nature. You may get lucky. You may even get something under face value, but don't. If you get a good deal, that's great. Brag about it, because it don't happen very often. I could tell you that from experience. So just a little buyer beware. Be careful with some things like that. If you can meet some season ticket holders or somebody trustworthy, all the more power to you. You got to make some friends. That's the best I could tell you, or you're going to have to pay more to do it through a third-party vendor. And be careful, too, because there's other ones that are out there. I don't know that I necessarily trust everything that's on SeatGeek necessarily. I know they're supposed to be, they're like an aggregator. It's like searching on Google and then finding, all the other websites when you do a search for Steelers, you know what I mean? And we're one of the ones that shows up. You see Steel City Underground there. Well, you just be careful with some of that stuff. And it's not always price shown before or after fees. Now, the meat of everything, tailgating. Okay, you've gotten through, you traveled to Pittsburgh, or you're coming in Sunday like I am. The lots usually open 5 hours before kickoff. Some of the ones that are more independent, that aren't the Elko ones with the parking permits and things of that nature, those are definitely 5 hours. Now, there's all sorts of things you can do when you tailgate. Most people may not be aware, if you park somewhere like any of the Golden Triangle type parking lots or something, I think they're all $5 on game day. And those are the garages that are downtown. And you could try and walk over. It's a little bit of a walk. It's not quite like the Pirates games where you could just walk across the Clemente Bridge and then you're right there, Excuse me. You can ferry over from Station Square, which is across the rivers. There's like a Sheridan Hotel. It's like right there too. You could always ferry over. I don't know what that costs each way or whatever. But if you get on the T, which is the public transportation, that's the rail, almost looks like the elevated trains. They put all that in on the North Shore a few years ago. One stop at PNC, I think, and another stop that goes all the way to Heinz. And depending on where you catch that at, and you can find all of this on the public transit website, you could actually ride that in free, and then you can meet other people if you happen to know somebody that is tailgating. Now, if you're looking to park right in the heart of everything, you definitely want to get down there early enough so you're not stuck in traffic and then miss the opportunity to do whatever it be. If you're grilling food or just drinking some beers out of the back of your truck, whatever it may be. But you want to get down there in enough time to be able to enjoy yourself, pack up, and start walking and getting to the stadium so you're there about an hour beforehand and you're not stuck waiting in a crowd. Sometimes even an hour before, depending on the game, can be a little crazy. It depends which gate you're going into also, because the side with the ferry and the gate A has become quite crazy now that they have, like I said, they closed in that one part of the stadium that used to all be gates all on that one side. Now it's actually like club entrance and stuff, and there's different entrances on each side, which is also a very good point. You want to enter the side that it says on your ticket, because if you don't do that and you enter gate C and you were supposed to enter gate B, it is very difficult. You can't walk in a complete circle on the upper concourse so easily with Heinz Field. And you could do that just by looking at photos of it. You see how it's disconnected. The upper deck in the end zone isn't connected to the other decks there, and there's the rotundas. There are portions of it that are connected and you can go, but you're going to do a lot of up and down walking. You're going to actually like kind of go up a rotunda, go across, and then come back down the one side of the end zone, or get stuck and not be able to come across the one area at all. So be careful with that as well. But okay, so you're there early, you want to tailgate, parking passes. You could call like any of the places that run some of these lots, see if they still have permits. They sell out pretty quick. A lot of people, they've been on these lists and they've been doing these things for years and pass them down, through generations and stuff. And a lot of it's, depending on who you are too, because if you're like somebody that's got a suite, you're going to be in that gold lot. You're going to see people sell these gold lot passes, $200 some bucks on eBay and things of that nature, Craigslist and all these things. That's your prerogative. If I'm going by myself, like $200 for me, that's a game, maybe even 2 game tickets, depending on when and how and where and everything that I mentioned earlier, as far as what influences pricing. So I'm not looking to spend that much to park. In fact, I usually pay about $20 or $30. It also depends on the day and the events that are going on. And I don't know, a half mile from the stadium, I think. But there's other lots that aren't like designated with the color lots. as you'll see on the parking maps. Like I said, the casino has a garage. That could be a little pricey. There's 2 garages now. They built the gold one that's right in front of the stadium there. There's the red one that's like kind of in between, further down by PNC. And trust me, some of these cash lots that you end up walking from, you just pull right up. You'll see some of them if you actually drive past the stadium. I'll tell you, I think it's 1C and is it Ohio River Boulevard, Chateau, West End Bridge exit. That's what I'm thinking of. You're actually going to get off and go kind of past Heinz Field. You'll see them all to your right. There's a lot of open lots there. The closer you get, the more it can cost. It may even be $60 or $70 cash. Some of them are first come, first serve. Like I said, some of them could be as cheap as $20. Depends on how far it is that you want to walk. But almost all of those lots get very lively, especially when the Steelers are doing good for the season or there's a big opponent. If it's not like a primetime game on a Thursday, it tends to be a little more timid because, people don't get off from work early to tailgate. But those Sunday afternoon games, they can be a lot of fun. And you also want to check, too, because some of the lots, like Carnegie Science Center has a big lot next to Heinz Field, too. But you can't – there's nothing you could do in it. They won't let you grill. They're pretty much like I don't know, like the authority and constantly Big Brother. Big Brother's a good word for it. Looking over your shoulder and making sure you're not having any fun whatsoever. So make sure you get in a spot that you're at least, if you want to grill, you want to drink, do all that stuff. Now, as far as alcohol, if you're coming from out of town and you're not familiar with Pennsylvania beer laws, bring beer from wherever you're coming from and either keep it warm and not chill it and then chill it the next day, put it on ice or whatever, or keep it cool the entire time because you don't want scuzzy beer, of course. Temperature change can do that a little bit. It's usually sunlight that'll really kill your beer. Come on, the monks, they did this stuff in the 1300s and it was always warm and stuff like that. So it doesn't matter if it's warm and then gets cold. If it gets hot, we're talking like around Labor Day-ish where we might still have some warm weather. That's always a good point, too. You want to be dressed and prepared. Sometimes you may actually want to wear shorts. Wearing a jersey is actually going to be quite warm. You want a dry fit shirt or something that's under that, especially if you're manning the grill. Propane grills, obviously, bring your own propane. Don't do like me. Darn thing got broken. I carried it like an idiot. About a quarter mile to a 7-Eleven that just happened to have exchanges. And boy, was that painful. Let me tell you, my biceps were popping like Hulk Hogan or something, one of these 80s pro wrestlers. It was hurting so bad. I Ubered back. I paid like $8 or $9 for it to just go a quarter mile Ubering because I couldn't do it anymore. And I was prepared. And I was a full-size propane tank. Some of these use butane. If you have charcoal or something like that, you're going to want to have time to not only heat that up, but cool it off. You may want to bring like one of those dollar gallon jugs of water, spray bottle, something like that. Maybe even buy an extra tin from the dollar store or something like the trays that you could dump your extra charcoal in and then put the water in it. And then you could spray off. So, you don't want it to rust or destroy your grill. I mean, the grill's a sacred item. But this is something that I've found you don't want to be, I forget what that is. Is it the Allstate, the Mayhem guy? That's the insurance commercial with the grill that blows up the car. Don't be that person. Obviously, with the food and stuff, you could bring crock pots. I've run a crock pot. You got to do it off a generator. You're not going to be able to plug anything into a car. It doesn't give enough juice, or if it does give enough juice, you won't ever get to start your car. They do have emergency services at the stadium. If you happen to have a battery or something that goes bad, take note of that. They'll display it on the scoreboard maybe once or twice throughout the game. It's also in the programs if you're one of those program buying people as well. Always bring napkins. Always have hand sanitizer, always have your utensils. Just make your checklist of everything that you would think you would need to eat at your dinner table. Make that little checklist and then pack everything you need. Bring a bag or a bin or whatever it needs to be and bring it with you. You might need some chairs. You might need some tables. But overall, have fun. Plan according to the weather. the parking and the walking is the biggest thing. I mean, if you're an older person or you have an older person with you that can't really do that bit of walking, it's probably, don't think about the money, especially if this is like one of these, you're doing this once in a while type things and not doing it every, you got to consider that I try and go, I usually do end up at all 8 regular season games. I actually missed one last year, which I'm not proud to say, but it just wasn't happening for a variety of reasons. Also had a family thing going on as well. So, yeah, I know. I still watched the game at home. It was just the travel and everything else. Couldn't get it done. Even if you get down there, I mean, you could always go to one of the bars and watch the game too. There's just so much going on. It's a big party atmosphere, especially when the weather is better earlier in the season. And you know what? You don't know if the team's winning or losing at that point. So everybody's into it. I mean, even in Cleveland, they're into it for the opening weekend. I'm trying to think what else I could tell you guys as far as tailgating. Obviously, you want to lock the car. You don't, like I said, stuff as many things in your pockets, gloves and things like that. Carry the blanket. Don't put it in a bag. You don't want the bag inspected. It might be a little bit of a minor inconvenience carrying something. If it's too much of an inconvenience, you probably should just leave it in the car to begin with. So, other than that, I mean, just be careful out there. There's still people. There was somebody that tried to hit me up a few years ago, and you know, people drink. They try and get in fights, things like that. Watch where you're walking. Watch who you're walking with, and your surroundings and things of that. It's just like any other big city, any other thing. You just got to be careful with yourselves. I'm not trying to frighten anybody into thinking that going to a football game is some terrifying experience, but I mean, this is no different than if you just happen to, you know, be shopping at the mall during the holidays or something like that. Keep an eye out for your belongings and for your loved ones as well. I don't know. I'm kind of drawing blanks on anything else. I hope some of this information was very helpful for you. I'm the big tailgater. I practically bring anything and everything that you could possibly think of. Bottle openers, things to light the fire, you name it. I hook up TVs and stuff too to watch the early kickoffs when the Steelers might have like the 4:30 game or the Sunday night game. You get to watch like the 4:30 games, maybe part of the end of the 1 o'clock games, depending on how early I'm able to get down there. I'll spend the whole day down there. It's relaxing for me. I like to sit in a chair. I like to hang out with other Steelers fans, even fans from I've had like Giants fans, a Patriots fan actually come hang out with me, and none of that bothers me. It's all in good fun, you know what I mean? And to me, it's a lot less stressful to sit in a chair, have a beverage, have my own food that I picked. I don't have to worry about someone screwing up my order inside the stadium or fighting with other people. I relax. I don't have to rush. I'm not stuck in traffic. It's a beautiful thing, trust me. So for any other tips, feel free to hit me up. I hope some of this game day stuff is very helpful for everyone. And I don't want to drone on because I know I'm forgetting some things, but now it's so out of order and out of place. I told you, I have no script. I don't even have a bullet list for this. This is all off the top of my head because I've been doing this for so long. It's just, it's second nature. But I still keep the checklist on those game days, because you know what the worst thing is like forgetting ketchup with your hot dogs. You know, yeah, I do hot dogs. We do steak sometimes too. We've done breakfast. That's a challenge. Trust me. You do bacon and eggs in the morning, that's great. But you know what? You got to put a little bit of something extra in that coffee, or hot apple cider with a little bit of the apple. That's the Tennessee Jack or the Crown Royal apple. I'm not advocating you get like. By the way, this is actually important. If you are drinkers, they do cut off at third quarter. At the end of the third quarter, sober yourself up. Once I get in the stadium, I don't even drink. If I have one, I don't want to make it sound like I'm this big drunk and I get blitzed and get into fights. I haven't been thrown out of any games or anything like that nature. But drinking and weather and the elements might make you sick, might dehydrate you. So don't forget, Gatorade water. Grab one of those in the stadium. Pack a few of those in the cooler even for the drive. You're going to be sitting in a car, sitting in traffic, trying to get out to get home anyway, because 65,000 people are all trying to leave, usually at the same time. So get those fluids back in you so you're not feeling too tired or groggy for the drive home. That's the part of the sign-off where I'm always saying be safe. And then the part where I say be good means don't drink too much. And catching you later means I want you to be safe and good so I can catch you later. So be safe, be good. We'll catch you later.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.